Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire Podcast, where the wondrous world of Tolkien Middle-earth awaits. Today we are journeying onward into the Akallabeth, which is one of the sections that follows the official Silmarillion. But if you fear spoilers, worry not. Just go back to the beginning, to our first episode, to begin your adventure, because it will be way more easy to understand, because this is a complex story. The Silmarillion is kind of tough to read, so that's why we're here. So we can make it the most intricate lore as delightful as a hobbit's second breakfast.
I love second breakfast. I, Ashley, will be your Silmarillion guide, and I am joined by my lovely co-host and best friend, Abby, a wide-eyed newbie to the Silmarillion story, but definitely no stranger at all to Middle-earth. Together, we'll guide you through Tolkien's many lands, many intricate characters, and all of their amazing, and yes, sometimes, most of the time, tragic stories.
Sad. So sad.
So sad.
So, without further ado, let's get going on this adventure.
Let's go. How are you, Abby?
Well, oh my goodness. I'm sorry.
Did you just get an idea?
Yes. If this computer problem is how the rest of the day is going to go on, like the vibe of the rest of the day, I'm going to have a bad day.
The world is working against you.
Yes. So I apologize, everybody. I'm using a different computer. I'm using my husband's computer because my computer is too tired. He's just too tired to do anything. Like, Ashley, we tried to start the recording and we're like, okay, and then everything on my screen blacked out. My computer blacked out.
Said, nah.
Like, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
So I'm on my husband's computer right now, which I'm used to, but like, I just hope that it doesn't show, like it isn't like too different of audio sounding situation.
So far, I think
I don't know how to turn off. I don't know how to turn off his notification thing. So, because he gets his text messages through the computer. So, if you hear like little dings, just ignore those.
They're Abby having. It's going to be like Abby's like a light bulb moment. Like, oh, I have an idea. So, okay, we're not having any more squeaky chairs. We don't have a co-host with us today. We're going to have the light bulb notification.
Yes. You guys can just hear how popular my husband is, of how many text messages he gets.
We're a professional podcast, people.
Oh, yeah. No, my poor computer is just sick and tired of doing this work. She's a girl in 2023. She's like, I don't have to work for you. I'm like, hey, girl, help me out here. And she's like, no, I'm gonna go take a nap. And I'm like, oh, please. So
did you say it was out of memory?
Yes. So it's not like a virus or like a spam thing or whatever. It's like my computer is literally slowing down and shutting things down, and the little caption is like, out of memory. And I'm like, okay. I mean, me too, girl. Computer. Me too. But like, I'm at full capacity, but also, like, I need to work and stuff, so if you could please just help a girl out. Come on.
And too bad you can't like feed it some chocolate or give it some caffeine.
Yeah. Girls helping girls. Please help me out here. So if that is the vibe going on, but you know what? Guess what?
We're in our happy place right now,
solved
Abby.
The problem. I moved on. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let this bog me down. I'm going to find a solution, and I did, and I moved forward. So
heck,
you know what? If today's vibe is going to be like punching me down, I'm going to be like, okay, if I'm on the ground, I'm going to sweep the ankle. I'm going to sweep the leg while I'm down there, and I'm going to bring you down with me.
That's karate class talking, girls. Okay.
Anyway.
So, how much do you remember of last week? It was a bit of a shorter episode. Sorry, it was shorter, but I feel like there was a lot of stuff happening that needed just its own little time.
So that, I keep wanting to say owl, but it's not owl. Is it Al-Pharazon? It's not
R,
owl, but I feel R.
It's R.
I
like
want
a pirate.
Owl,
okay. Ar-Pharazon.
No, we won't confuse anyone.
I know.
So
Ar-Pharazon, he was journeying to Middle Earth. I almost said Middle East. To the east to Middle Earth with his armada. Go.
Okay.
That's where we started.
He wanted to, what's the right word? Not intimidate. Kind of intimidate, but he wanted
in his
to
place.
Put Sauron in his place by coming up with like full regalia, full army, all the navy, just like this is what I got. Like I am so mighty, I am so powerful, and you're gonna bow down to me. And
can you feel me?
You're gonna work for me. Okay?
Yeah.
And Sauron's like, I can't remember. Did he come down like and greet him, like talk to him face to face?
Yes. After they landed in Umbar, they did the marching band march for 7 days, playing the same song over and over again, I'm sure, while Pharazon's getting, carted around in his litter, eating grapes and, getting all the best life. Bonbons. Thank you. I was trying to think of the word. And then he sets up his pavilion on the highest hill that he can find and sends messengers to tell Sauron, like, hey, my master wants you to, or my king, Pharazon, like, I think you should swear fealty to him because he said so. So Sauron came all the way down from Barad-dûr, all of his stairs. He had no elevator, of course, and met with Ar-Pharazon. I'm having trouble today, guys. And remember, he had to unroll his tongue or loosen his tongue, or I forgot the way he said it, but it would weirded me out. But then I loved your hello, my dears.
Darling, you look amazing. So he like flattered him and he was like giving him all the praise. Sauron to Pharazon.
Right.
And Pharazon was eating it up.
Yes.
He's like, yeah. Oh my gosh, I thank you. Yes, I am amazing. Thank you for noticing. And he was like, okay, I can't remember. I remember the like conversation, but I can't remember who said what to who. But there was a conversation of taking Sauron back to Numenor. But I don't know if it was Sauron suggesting it and then he'd be like, oh yeah, no, that's a great idea. Or Pharazon was like, I have to take you back to show everyone how awesome I am that I captured you and like you're my slave now.
Second option.
Okay.
It was Pharazon's great, grand, genius idea to take Sauron hostage, air quotes.
But
and Sauron's like, I don't want to go. Do I have to? I guess I can
He's
go.
like putting on the shackles himself. He's like, oh no. Darn, you're taking me with you?
Yes.
But you know for a fact that he did the whole thing that like they suggest it in like a really different way. And then like the person's like, wait, I have an idea. And it's the exact same idea, but they think they came up with it. And then they're like, oh my gosh, you're a genius. Yes, exactly. So that's how I think that went down.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
so have they made their way back to Numenor?
Yes, they made their way back, and Sauron sees just like the glory and splendor that is Numenor, and he's like, I've been living in basically like a tower built of sticks for like the last thousand
They have a
years.
Starbucks here? That's crazy.
Yes. And so he's like really like in awe of it, but he also, because he's Sauron, it, you know, not descendant, but like of the cloth of Melkor, and he's like, I love it so much, I want it. You know, he just
Yeah.
gets like festering like jealousy, and
Ooh.
then he starts somehow over the course of like 3 years, he goes from hostage to counselor to the king by telling the king and all of his other counselors that things that, you know, he's a Maiar. He's been around for ages, like literally ages. But these essentially like newborn mortals don't know anything because they cut themselves off from the Valar and the Eldar. So Sauron's like telling them all these like crazy things that they didn't know, but is like basic history to anyone else. But then he starts embellishing the stories more and more, and until it becomes like not even close to the truth anymore.
He is laying on the charm,
Yes,
like
very much so.
really thick.
Yes. And he's like, oh, you guys want to go to Middle Earth? Why would you want to go to Middle Earth? You didn't know? The Valar didn't tell you about the other lands beyond Middle Earth? Oh my gosh. They have way better stuff than Middle Earth. And if you even go beyond that, there's this place called the Ancient Darkness, which is basically the Dark Void, and that you can't really go to, but Sauron's like selling it like you can, because he's like, the darkness is actually what the really cool thing is, because there's a Lord of Darkness that actually, he's the one who made the world, and he can give you gifts if you like decide to worship him. And you know
Okay,
what?
but if someone said like, "Oh, there's beautiful,"
There's
where
sunshine
do
and
Valar
rainbows
live?
over there.
Valar live
Valinor.
in Valinor, and then they're like, "Ooh, don't you want to go to the like darkness? What was it called? Darkness,
The Ancient Darkness.
the ancient darkness." I'd be like, "No, like, why would I want to go there? That sounds awful."
But
Like,
then you have that one kid
I
that's like, oh,
know
wait, that's
Valinor,
like, actually, that sounds amazing.
yeah, like Valinor sounds beautiful and like what's the word, like
It's like glowing.
godly and be
Yeah.
and perfect. Why do I
Mhm.
want to go to the ancient darkness? That sounds scary.
Well,
First
the
of all,
Ancient Darkness, you're allowed to go there. And the Lord
yeah,
of Darkness that
I'm
made the
allowed.
world, he
I'm
can
allowed to go to a like volcano, but do I want to go? No.
But what if
I'm
the Lord of the volcano could increase your power?
I'm allowed to go to like a spooky haunted house, but do I want to go there? No. And
But he
what
could make you like
god
live
lives there
forever.
that I want to be associated with?
But what if he made you live forever, Abby, and he promised you a pony?
Oh, if you threw in a pony.
Well, it wasn't the pony that sold Ar-Pharazon on it. He was like, wait, I could get even more power? And Sauron's like,
Mm. Do you think he
yeah.
did magics on him?
I don't know. I don't think he really needed to, because Ar-Pharazon sounds like he was just like pretty
Corrupt at the
easy, yeah,
beginning.
to manipulate, yeah. So he's like, wait, so who is this Lord of Darkness? What do I have to do to get him to like me? What do I have to do to get the power? And Sauron's like, hold up. Locks the doors, blows out the candles, tells everyone to go away, and then he's like,
He does the whole like super obvious like checking around like,
yes.
oh, is anybody listening?
Yes.
Oh no, I have to lock the door.
But
make it
then
seem
I
really
also am
important.
I also just saw the image of Smee with Captain Hook. He's like, well, I'm not one to gossip, but the first mate told me that the cook told him that.
Yeah.
By the way, Smee is totally
said.
underrated in that movie. He is the comic relief that you didn't even know was there. Anyways, so Sauron tells him,
animated and Hook, by the way.
Oh, yes. Okay, so I'm gonna read the quote. I read it last episode, but I really need to nail in there what he said about how he describes Melkor, because this is going to be the foundation that Sauron is going to build everything off of. So,
okay.
He's like, so who is the Lord of Darkness, Sauron? And Sauron's like, quote, it is he whose name is not now spoken, for the Valar have deceived you concerning him, putting forward the name of Eru, a phantom devised in the folly of their hearts, seeking to enchain men in servitude to themselves. For they are the oracle of this Eru, which speaks only what they will. But he that is their master shall yet prevail, and he will deliver you from this phantom. And his name is Melkor, Lord of all, giver of freedom, and he shall make you stronger than they.
Whoa. But you said before in the last episode that they don't know the name Melkor.
They don't know the name
that's
Melkor.
Like ancient.
Yeah, right. When he, after the whole incident with the two trees of Valinor, he was stripped of the name Melkor, and he just went by the name Morgoth. So they don't know that they're the same. I'm assuming. I mean, that would make sense to me.
Tricky.
Yes.
He's being tricky.
Uh-huh. So we're going to pick up right where we left off after Sauron's cunning portrayal of Melkor to Ar-Pharazon, because Ar-Pharazon has fallen for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Ar-Pharazon just starts worshiping the dark, and that's dark with a capital D / Melkor.
That's pro-dark. That's professional dark.
Oh, yeah. So he starts kind of slow at first, keeping it on the DL, just kind of, doing his own thing. But then...
Oh, I'm sorry.
What?
When you said that, it just makes me think he's like trying to hide being goth. And he's like, he's like wearing like subtle goth things, like, but you can't really tell. Or like,
yes,
he's wearing eyeliner one day and they're like, what are you wearing? He's like, nothing. Leave me alone.
Is that black fingernail polish? No, I bruised my finger. It's fine. His backpack opens and like My Chemical Romance CDs fall out of it. And he's like, no, dang it. Well, that must have happened because before long, word gets out to the people of Numenor that he's just like, okay, this is what I've been doing. And then he just starts worshiping the dark openly, quote, in the face of his people.
What?
Yeah. Like, okay, the jig is up. This is what I've been doing, and I'm going to keep doing it because I like it. And the people are like,
this isn't a phase, Mom.
But then the people of Numenor are like, well, if the king likes it, if that's what he's doing, well, we'll start worshiping the darkness too.
No. Come on.
Now, when the Sauron first started to turn the king and his counselors to the darkness, there was one counselor who wasn't quite falling for it.
Wait, hold on. Is there a quote from Emperor's New Groove? And he's like, I'm going to lead you down the... what is the, like... Emperor's New Groove...
He wants to lead you down the path of righteousness. I'm going to lead you down the path that rocks. Yes.
That's it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Remember that quote because it's going to come up here in 1 second. Okay. Because that actually fits perfectly here in a minute. Okay. So this one guy that doesn't want to follow Sauron, his name is Amandil.
Okay. Isn't that
Amandil.
Like, when it ends like that, doesn't it mean like something?
Well, deal could be like maybe like love or like so his name means devoted to Aemon or Valinor. So Amandil, like devoted to Aemon. So
All
Deal
right.
could be like devoted, maybe like love or support or servant, or just in that realm of like, I like it.
Okay.
So he, remember that house I told you not to forget about, the Lord of Andunier, that house of like royalty but not royalty.
And they were like good people, and they like
Yes.
were friends with the elves and were
Yes.
respectful and
Yes.
not
They were
greedy.
among the elf friends. So this Amandil, he is now the 17th Lord of Andunier. And just a reminder, the last person we knew from the House of Andunier that we talked about was Inzilbeth. She was Tar Palantir's mother. And just to confuse you
Okay.
more, her father was like the 15th
She's
Lord
the one
of
who didn't
Andunier.
love her husband.
Yes, because she was an elf friend and the king just wanted her because she was pretty. They had nothing in common at all, but she was like, I guess I have to marry you because you're the king. He's like, I just want you because you're pretty.
Oh no.
So her father was the 15th Lord of Andunier. And I just kind of like his name. It's Ea Rendur, and it means servant of the sea.
Cute.
So during this time, as Sauron is turning the king and the counselors, then he's starting to turn the people. Quote, then slowly a change came over the land, and the hearts of the elf friends, or the Elendili, were sorely troubled, and many fell away out of fear. And although those that remained still called themselves the faithful, their enemies named them rebels. For now, having the ears of men, Sauron, with many arguments, gainsaid all that the Valar had taught.
Okay.
So I find the term fell away interesting. Like, do you think he meant that they like fell away from like their faith? Like they decided, I'm not an Ellen. Who told you I was an Ellen Dealey? I'm totally one of the Kingsmen. Ellen Dealey, like those weirdos, just completely like just switch sides because they were afraid.
Yeah.
And I keep remembering this is Tolkien writing during the World Wars. So to me, this sounds a lot like pre-war Germany and like the Nazi Party.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
lightly.
lightly. But just like this group that is growing and is very, very like strong in their opinions and strong in their like, if you're not one of us, you're against us.
Their influences.
Yes. And so, like, also, like the Germans that refused to join the Nazi Party, they went into hiding. So most of the faithful had to go into hiding on the island. But the chief among the faithful was, of course, our man Amandil, Lord of Andunier. And alongside him was his son. Not sure if you've heard of this guy, but his name is Elendil. And you might have heard of his sons. One is named Isildur. And one that you actually didn't know. I didn't know his name. Did you know he had two sons? Other than from the Rings of Power show, but you don't even know really anything about this other son anyway. Anarayan. Anarayan. Yeah.
That's a cool name.
Yeah. So Elendil, as we know, because of the Elendili, means elf friend. And Isildur, I had no idea that this meant this, means devoted to the moon.
Aww.
I never knew that. And
I have to tell my daughter she has to find a partner who has that name now.
Yeah. The name that the root is Isil. Isil means moon.
Aww.
And then Anarayan means possibly like, this is so dumb, sun, but like SUNSON. the best that guy could come up with, apparently. Son.
You never watched Avatar: The Last Airbender? I can say spoilers because that show's old, but there's a character who is literally the moon. Like she is
Okay.
a human embodiment of the moon.
Sure.
And her name is Moon.
Sure.
Like when you translate it, it's Moon.
My name is Ashley. Well, this family of boys, because they don't mention the daughters, or I don't think there's any daughters, but they don't even mention the wives at all. They just talk about these boys. So we have Amendiel, the grandfather, Elendil, the father, and then the two grandsons, Isildur and Anarion. These were all great ship captains, and of course, being from the house of Andunier, they were also descendants of Elros, so they got that going for them. And Amendiel actually grew up with Ar-Pharazon. And despite Amendiel being one of the faithful, Ar-Pharazon considered Amendiel, quote, dear to him. Like, they were good buddies. Which is
so
why...
Like, this isn't you, man.
Yes. Which is why he was actually one of the king's counselors. Amendiel was, because, he was he was of the royal blood, and, he had the friendship with Ar-Pharazon, he got a good place in court. But all that's
I can get you a job.
Yeah. But all that's going to change now that Sauron is on the scene.
Oh.
Quote, now he, Amendiel, was dismissed, for Sauron hated him above all others in Numenor. But he was so noble and had been so mighty a captain of the sea that he was still held in honor by many of the people, and neither the king nor Sauron dared to lay hands on him as yet.
So he was such a cool, nice guy. Everybody loved him.
Mm-hmm. But Sauron's like, a good influence on you, on my new best friend, Ar-Pharazon? Can't have that. Bye, Amendiel. So this is when you have your quote, like, he wants to lead you down the path of righteousness. I'm going to lead you down the path that rocks.
That rocks.
So Amendiel leaves the city of Armenalos, the main capital city, but he doesn't go back home to Andunier. In fact, he really doesn't go far at all. He heads to the nearby port city of Romena.
Romena?
And if you look on a map, or if you imagine our Numenor island that is a sea star or a star, it would be under like the right armpit.
Oh, let me look. You sent me a map.
I did. So Andunier is like clear on like the left hand.
Romena
is like under the right armpit.
Yes, I see.
Okay. And once he gets there, he spreads word to the rest of the faithful to come to Romena in secret. Quote, for he feared that evil would now grow apace, and all the elf friends were in peril. And so it soon came to pass. So
he's smart.
He is smart. And I find it interesting that that's what he chose. He didn't choose Andunier, which is far away from the city, far away from the chaos. He chose close by. But also he chose a port city. So
he wants to leave?
Possibly. Or he wants an escape route. Because he's just, he's getting bad vibes from this Sauron guy. He just got kicked out of the royal court. He has just been replaced as the king's best friend.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you even know his birthday? Do you know his birthday? I do.
So, remember that temple to Iluvatar on the mountain Meneltarma?
Yes.
Well, with not many really wanting to worship Iluvatar, it's been pretty much abandoned and neglected. And I'm sure Sauron wanted to trash the place the moment he was aware of its existence on Numenor, but even he was too afraid of the wrath of Iluvatar to defile it.
Yeah.
But I find this interesting. Like, the king is too afraid to actually, like, use it for something else. Even Sauron is too afraid to use it for something else. Like, they hate the Valar and they like don't like them, but they're also like, but we don't want to make them mad.
It's like when kids, like in movies, like teenagers are like acting out and they're like doing something like, oh my gosh, my mom's gonna find out. Don't tell my mom.
Yes. So instead, probably from Sauron's suggestion, the king just didn't let anyone near it. Like, upon pain of death, don't even think about it, you Ellen Dealey guys. You cannot go to the temple. No one is allowed.
Huh.
But
weird. And they probably spread some weird propaganda about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what it would be, but like, if you go to the temple, you'll like die younger or something. I don't know.
Or they're like, they've only been mean to you. Why would you go worship them? Or they're trying to take away your rights of freedom.
Yeah. So Sauron is too afraid to defile the temple. But he isn't afraid to defile something else that the Eldar gifted Numenor.
Ships?
Nope.
I
Quote,
don't know.
And Sauron urged the king to cut down the white tree, Nimloth the Fair, for it was the memorial of the Eldar and of the light of Valinor.
No.
I knew you didn't like that part. And at first, Ar-Pharazon is like, no way, man. That thing has been here for ages. In fact, my father-in-law, this guy named Tar-Palantir, not sure if you've heard of him. Apparently, he might have had the gift of foresight, but either way, maybe he was just playing crazy, am I right? Well, you said that if anyone were to hurt the white tree, that the line of king and the line of Numenor would be over. But I mean, you never know. So I just leave it alone, you know? Why mess with it if we don't have to, right? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Quote, thus in his folly, he who now hated the Eldar and the Valar vainly clung to the shadow of the old allegiance of Numenor. So in other words, Ar-Pharazon is being a hypocrite. Like, you don't believe... You don't like the Valar or the Eldar, but yet you're clinging to this gift that they gave you that symbolizes Valinor, that symbolizes the like gift from elves that you apparently hate.
Yeah.
And if you think of like the
it's
Rings
like
of Power
when
show,
people like overtake a land. It's like when people overtake a land and take it from people, and they're like, "But we're gonna keep this. This is ours now." Like,
yeah.
I like this. I'm gonna keep it. But it's like, you're taking everything else and you're like not respecting anything. It's like, well, yeah, that's true. But I like this thing, so I'm gonna keep it here. But if you come back, I'll kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. But you know, in the show, we're gonna keep referencing the show. It's the only thing we really have to reference. But they, you know, were so against elves. Like, the minute they figured out she was an elf, it was like she was like a pariah. But yet they had such like superstition almost about the white tree. Like when the petals started coming off, they're like, oh my gosh, it's a sign from the Valar. But they didn't like the Valar, but they still had this like ingrained belief in them about the tree.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of the show doesn't make sense with the book, but the feels, I'm talking about the feels, people.
Yes.
The vibes. So while Sauron and Ar-Pharazon are discussing whether or not they should cut down the tree, word gets out to Amendil that his buddy Ar-Pharazon is just thinking about cutting it down. And Amendil, knowing all that the white tree symbolized from his knowledge of the white tree on Valinor and of the Eldar's sacred reverence for the white tree, or any trees for that matter, he's just filled with sadness because, you know, he can see how cunning Sauron is, and he just knows it's only a matter of time before he gets what he wants.
Yes.
Quote, then he spoke to Elendil, his son, and the sons of Elendil, Isildur and Anarion, his grandsons, recalling the tale of the trees of Valinor. Like, I love this idea that these Elendili just like maybe are like sitting around the fireplace and they just tell stories of the elves and of Valinor and the histories. And maybe it was even like a scary like story to like try and like a bedtime story, like, and then Sauron came and got the, and like you like, surprise the kids, and make them all scared.
And he turned into a werewolf.
Yeah. No, he turned into a cloud. But I just love this idea that that's like part of that's such an ingrained part of the Elendili lifestyle, is this passing down the stories of the Valar and the
like
Eldar.
Bilbo at his birthday party.
Yeah.
Cute. So
I'm going to take a side trip here and talk about dates, because I got a little lost in my wait, so why are 3 generations living in this house together? How many years has it been? I just was getting a little lost. So I wanted to kind of reorient you.
Okay. Go.
So Ar-Pharazon takes over as king of Numenor when he's 137.
Whoa.
Yeah. And just for reference point, that is in the year 3255. 3255.
Okay.
About 6 years later, Ar-Pharazon sails to Middle-earth. And then about a year later, I have no idea how they stayed there for so long, Sauron sails back to Numenor as Ar-Pharazon's hostage.
Okay.
And then we are now around the year 3290. Sauron has been on Numenor for about 30 years. And Amandil is actually 261 years old. Elendil is 171 years old. Isildur is 81 years old. And Anarion is 71 years old.
So you would think that Aragorn would have been born by then? Maybe?
No, not yet.
Oh. Ew. Over 80 years old?
Well, see, that's the funny thing to picture. Like, to me, Isildur and Anarion, when I was first, hearing this story, I'm like, oh, they're like little kids, But no, they're like grown men.
Wow. Okay.
So, for some reason, as Amandil is telling his son and his grandsons all about the story of the 2 trees of Valinor, the story really hits Isildur in particular. Quote, Isildur said no word, but went out by night and did a deed for which he was afterwards renowned.
Okay.
Now, Abby, how long have we been Tolkien nerds?
Oof.
About 20 years old? 20 years? 20 years old. 20 years?
20? No, like 22.
Okay.
20, 22, 20, 21.
And all that time, we've seen the movies dozens of times. Read the main Lord of the Rings trilogy and Hobbit, just multiple times. We know the main story pretty well.
Yes.
So when you think of Isildur, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Okay, honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind is when Elrond's like, cast it into the fire. He's like, no. And he walks away, and then he keeps the ring, and then then you see him floating in the river upside down.
Yep.
So I think of him as
no.
A selfish kind of...
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't really selfish. He was under the influence. Let's call it that.
Sure. But yeah, that's the first thing you think of is Isildur! When, he decides to keep the ring. And
when he sees his dad get killed, and then he chops off Sauron's finger or hand or something.
Yeah.
And then he's like, ooh, I like this thing.
Yeah. So,
and then he keeps it for a long time, doesn't he? Before he dies.
That is another story for another day. But
okay.
But I just let you think, so that's the summation of what we know about Isildur from just the books and the movies, right? It's just the guy liked the ring and he kept it. and he, chose not to cast it into the fire. Well,
I saw this TikTok where it was like, if I've been your friend for centuries and you see me with an evil piece of jewelry that I'm supposed to throw into the fire, and you just say, like, throw it in the fire, and I say, no, and then I walk away from you, if you don't chest kick me into the fire, into the lava, you are not a good friend. You let the world be, like, be overcome with evil and death and all these things. Like,
yeah.
Just kick me into the fire. What kind of friend are you?
Yeah, I agree. You have my promise, Abby. If you
get corrupted,
I will yeet you into the fire.
Okay.
And I hope you would do the same for me.
All right.
Well, after today's little story about him, maybe you'll think of him a little differently.
Okay. Oh, and then the other recent thing is him really wanting to go to Middle-earth from the Rings of Power. That's the only other thing that I've seen.
But if I were to summarize him in one word, even from the Rings of Power, it would be
selfish.
Weak.
Mm-hmm.
I would say weak. But
yes.
Let's hear this story and see what you think about him now. Quote.
Okay.
For he passed alone in disguise to Armenelos and to the courts of the king, which were now forbidden to the faithful. And he came to the place of the tree, which was forbidden to all by the orders of Sauron. And the tree was watched day and night by guards in his service. At that time, Nimloth was dark and bore no bloom, for it was late in autumn and its winter was nigh. And Isildur passed through the guards and took from the tree a fruit that hung upon it and turned to go. But the guard was aroused, and he was assailed and fought his way out, receiving many wounds, and he escaped. And because he was disguised, it was not discovered who had laid hands on the tree. But Isildur came at last hardly back to Romena and delivered the fruit at the hands of Amendil, ere his strength failed him. Then the fruit was planted in secret, and it was blessed by Amendil, and a shoot arose from it and sprouted in the spring. But when its first leaf opened, then Isildur, who had lain long and come near to death, arose and was troubled no more by his wounds.
Wow. That wasn't selfish of him.
Right? So, I mean, like, it doesn't quite cancel out what you did, but okay, Isildur, okay. You get a little bit more respect.
You had good intentions. But like I said, he was under the influence. That's what we're calling it.
Yeah.
The influence of the ring.
Yeah. And also, I love that he keeps using, like, he was in disguise, and this guy was in disguise. What disguises are all these characters using?
Concubines. Ugly concubines.
Yes. Anyways, Isildur's timing.
Like, guard.
Or in Pirates of the Caribbean when they're like dressed up with the like, yoo-hoo!
Yeah. With their like beards.
Yes. So, anyways, Isildur's timing couldn't have been better because immediately after the king was alerted as to what happened, he immediately gave in to Sauron's demands and had the white tree cut down.
So, what does Sauron know about the tree that it's like needed to come down? You know, like
it's more like it's okay. So let me say this
is there
quote
something
and then
special about it.
Not necessarily, but let me just read this quote and then we'll talk. Quote, and turned then wholly away from the allegiance of his fathers. So it was kind of like the one last thing he was clinging to that had the element of the Eldar, the Valar, to his heritage of people that believed in the Eldar and the Valar. So with him cutting it down, it's like him cutting off the ties.
Ren.
Yes. Yeah. It was that moment where he, completely turned.
But unlike Kylo Ren,
he didn't come back.
I love Kylo Ren. I'm sorry.
I know
to all you Kylo Ren haters out there, I love Kylo Ren.
Anyways, so this one act,
he did the same thing. Like it was his last thing he needed to do, that he felt that he needed to do, to be like, okay, I'm really cutting myself off from this. I have no more ties. I have nothing that's like holding me back.
And if anything, it was also like Sauron's like almost like a test. Like, show me how devoted you are to the Lord of Darkness.
The Lord of Darkness.
Yeah. Because with this one act, the cutting down of the white tree, Nimloth, things are about to be set in motion that can't be undone.
Oh, no.
In the middle of the city, that is described as Ar-Menellos the Golden, because I feel like Numenor definitely has like golden vibes to it. Sauron decided to build his own temple.
To
the Lord of Darkness.
The Lord of Darkness.
All right. Brace yourself for this description because it's a bit intense. Quote.
Of the building?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Quote, a mighty temple in the form of a circle at the base. And there the walls were 50 feet in thickness. And the width of the base was 500 feet across the center. And the walls rose from the ground 500 feet. And they were crowned with a mighty dome. And that dome was roofed all with silver and rose glittering in the sun, so that the light of it could be seen afar off. But soon the light was darkened, and the silver became black. For there was an altar of fire in the midst of the temple, and in the topmost of the dome there was a louver, or opening in the roof, like for ventilation, whence there issued a great smoke. And the first fire upon the altar Sauron kindled with the hewn wood of Nimloth, and it crackled and was consumed. But men marveled at the reek that went up from it, so that the land lay under a cloud for 7 days until it slowly passed into the west.
What? So, okay, first of all, he made like a bomb shelter of a temple that was probably so hideous to look at. It was probably not pretty at all.
Nope.
And then his sacrificial fire in the temple, he's like, it'd be like opening day. What would be the best thing to do is let's burn the tree that we just cut down that you had like, emotional ties to. Let's burn it down. Oh my gosh, jeez.
Yeah.
And okay, hold on. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here with this line, with this quote.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like later in the story and you can't tell me now, but is this building still around in like, well, maybe we'll get to see it in the Rings of Power show. Maybe.
But okay, so
because they don't.
It wasn't there.
They don't
then
really talk about
Sauron
Numenor.
wasn't there. Yeah.
They don't really talk about Numenor in like the Lord of the Rings.
Right. So this city of Ar-Menellos,
they wouldn't be able to know if that's the way.
Right. Ar-Menellos the Golden, it's described. And like I said, I think one of the main aesthetics of Numenor is gold. Like the color scheme is definitely a gold vibe. But I find it interesting that Sauron chose silver in the show, yeah. But I feel like it's rich.
No, I'm saying like I love that in the show, like the the suns and the like gold armor and stuff.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So I find it interesting that he chose silver, but then it becomes very symbolic because he even describes it that it glitters in the daytime sun, but at night turns black, kind of like Sauron.
Oh, what? It's a liar.
And then I also find it interesting that the smoke of Nimloth smelled like, I imagine it being like a sickly sweet for some reason. Like it just, I don't know how.
I would
That's
want
what
it
I
to
imagine.
yeah, I would want it to be so smoky that it kind of like makes the whole town smoky,
Yeah.
like as a punishment.
Yeah. But it also is interesting. One tree makes enough smoke to cover the entire island of Numenor in smoke for 7 days. And also 7. Tolkien's starting to use the number 7 a lot lately too.
Hmm.
And then finally, the smoke travels in what direction? West, as in towards Valinor.
Oh.
Ruh-roh.
And they're like, someone burned the tree. Someone burned the tree.
Yavanna's just like,
Yeah. And her man's like, oh, hell no.
yeah.
No. It's not happening.
Yep. So now that the white tree is all burned up, what else do you think Sauron is going to do with this huge new temple?
People have to pay him like tithes or whatever.
Oh, okay. You want like tributes? Sure.
Yeah, like him's like, you will swear loyalty to this now, and now I will earn my money, and I will get even more powerful.
Okay. He goes in a bit of a different direction. It's going to take a turn here. Quote,
a church picnic.
This temple has the best acoustics. We could have a choir here and put on concerts.
Yeah. An orc choir.
But no. Quote, thereafter, the fire and smoke went up without ceasing, for the power of Sauron daily increased, and in that temple, with spilling of blood and torment and great wickedness, men made sacrifice to Melkor, that he should release them from death. And most often, from among the faithful, they chose their victims. Yet never openly on the charge that they would not worship Melkor, the giver of freedom. Rather was cause sought against them that they hated the king and were his rebels, or that they plotted against their kin, devising lies and poisons. These charges were for the most part false, yet those were bitter days, and hate brings forth hate.
Wow. Yeah, that is very reminiscent of like the beginnings of World War II.
Right? Okay, I was getting all the kinds of vibes of that.
The sad vibes.
The sad vibes, yeah.
The sad vibes.
Yes.
So they were sacrificing people that like they assumed were against more the king and Sauron.
Yeah, it was mainly like, well, we're just going to round up all these Elendili, but we're going to say that they were like treasonous and they didn't like the king, and which isn't really true. The Elendili were neutral with the king. They just wanted to survive and live their best lives, but yeah, they just, I heard that he called the king fat.
To the fire.
But I had this other interesting thought too. So it says that
it was a barbecue. I was right.
It was a barbecue. That was dark. But do you think? So it says that Sauron gained power, like as this was happening. Do you think he gained power from the people's belief in Melkor? Because none of this could actually be helping Melkor, right? Like he's just watching from beyond the void, like his face pressed up against the window of like the void that I imagine he's in. He's like, I want the power, and he's like, I want it, but I can't have it.
I think he's getting power from. Wait, are you saying Melkor or Sauron?
Sauron is gaining power, but it's supposedly all for Melkor, but Melkor can't access this power, right? Like, even if they were actually praying to Melkor, I feel like he's cut off from those prayers, so it would all be going to Sauron, right?
That's his plan all along, I guess.
like a conduit kind of thing. But also, I'm not sure if you've seen the new Clash, not new, but like as regards to not the old Clash of the Titans movie, but the newer Clash of the Titans movie.
I have never seen any of those.
Oh, well, I have mixed feelings, but I love the imagery of it. So in the Clash of the Titans movie, they have this in, what's the word? Their heaven.
Like
Olympus.
Mount
Olympus, yes. So in Mount Olympus, they have this huge like room, like circular room, where it has these like little tiny statues of like, and it's supposed to be like the people of Greece. Like each person represents a statue. And as they're praying to the gods, to Zeus, to Hera, you know, they get more powerful. But as Hades is trying to take over, the Hades grows more powerful and gets more strong. Like in the beginning, he's like really weak and like frail. And then like as Hades turns the people to pray for him, he gets really strong and gets more young. And so that's kind of what I imagine. Like it's not that he is like gaining power on his own, but Sauron is like feeding off of their chaos.
Fear.
And yeah. Or in like Rise of the Guardians, if you want to be less dark about it, the bad guy in Rise of the Guardians, Pitch, you know, the more people have nightmares, the stronger and more powerful he gets.
Like
so
fear.
that's what I'm like. Yeah,
that's
what
what
I'm
that's what I think about like mob bosses, like depicted in movies. That like I've said this before. Jabba the Hutt. How is he
in charge?
Intimidating or in charge?
Yeah,
because like you could outrun that dude. Like, how did he get other people to work under him and fear him? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy what fear can do.
Yeah.
What fear can do to like people like, okay, I'll help you. I'll work for you. Like, I'm afraid of you enough that I'll work for you. So then like, I know that you won't hurt me. Right.
So yeah, they went to human sacrifice pretty quickly on Numenor. And all to try and, you know, gain immortality or to get more power. Like the remind me of the Aztecs or Mayas or, you know, whatever ancient civilization in the Central Americas that would, you know, sacrifice people and like try and like drink their blood or eat their hearts or whatever to try and like, I will live forever because I took your power from you.
Crazy.
Quote, crazy. That's how diseases are spread. Anyways, quote, but for all this, death did not depart from the land. Rather, it came sooner and more often and in many dreadful guises.
So
it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Are they like losing their gift of like living longer or something? Or
yeah. So before all this craziness, you know, Numenorians would just grow old over a long period of time and then would have a peaceful death in their sleep. And now they are literally going crazy in their old age. They're like becoming mad and we're getting sicknesses that they never had before. Plus, they're still terrified of dying to go on into the darkness of that Lord that they decided to worship. And they curse themselves in their agony. So things are going great. Fun. Yeah, so great. And it's about to get even better because they start taking their misery and craziness out on each other.
As one would do.
Quote, and men took weapons and slew one another for little cause, for they were become quick to anger. And Sauron, or those whom he had bound to himself, went about the land setting man against man, so that the people murmured against the king and the lords, or against any that had aught that they had not. And the men of power took cruel revenge.
That sounds Unfortunate.
So I find it interesting. Sauron is beginning to form his own posse. He's bound people to himself, which is like maybe the beginnings of like the Mouth of Sauron guy here, maybe. Or the Ring Wraith guys, maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
But he's pulling one of Melkor's best tricks. Spread rumors and lies, and all you have to do is sit back and let everyone else kill each other.
What do they say? Like, sit back and watch it happen. Like, he just has like a lawn chair.
Yep.
No, like in Hercules, like when Hades is just like, I'm just gonna let those guys do that work for me, and I'm just gonna sit back and watch.
Yep. Or as one of my favorite memes or GIFs or whatever, and I'm gonna definitely post one later about this. The scene in Mean Girls
yes.
When after she's like passes out all the bird book stuff and she's just like standing there with her arms folded and just like watching the chaos and all the fighting and all the crying.
Like slow motion. There's fire in the back for some reason.
Yep. So that's actually where I'm going to leave you with all of this craziness and mob mentality, and things are going great on Numenor.
It's so good. Like,
so good. It's like Sauron's like paradise, though.
They are doing so well from themselves. They are
making the best choices.
Living
their best lives. They're so happy. The best
guys. They're treating each other with respect.
Hey, you know what? I bet they go to their temple every Sunday.
They're not falsely accusing anyone and then burning them. Oh, nope. Wait.
Oh, yeah. Maybe they did do that. But I'm sure they deserved it because, I heard that guy told the king he was like, he didn't look good in purple. I mean, I would have killed him too.
Did you see him the other day? Oh my gosh. Purple is just not his color.
Well, don't say that. No to the fire with
you. Well, thanks for teaching me today.
You're welcome. So be sure to follow us on Instagram at Sisters of the Shire Podcast. Become a patron and join our Patreon at patreon.com/Sisters of the Shire Podcast. You can join our dwarf friend Dan and our elf friends Krishane and Tom.
Woohoo! You guys are the best.
You guys are the best. And please rate us on whatever platform you listen to your podcast on. We got some more ratings on Spotify, but you guys, why don't you like us? What did we do? It's going down again. And
you know what? You know what? We're not going to... What did I say? What did I say about today? We're not feeling those vibes.
Okay.
We're not going with that vibe.
Nope.
We're amazing. People love us for who we are. We don't have to deal with the haters.
Because I'm smart enough and I'm good enough and doggone it, people like me. No, I'll send you my favorite GIF. I'll send you my favorite. No, it's my favorite Vine, and it's this little boy, and he puts sunglasses on, and he's like, "I'm just blocking out the haters," and he has like tiny little sunglasses on. But that's my favorite. So that's what we're gonna do. You know what? If you don't like us, that's fine. You can go find something else. Yeah.
The people who love us will be here.
Yes.
Supporting us. Like our amazing Patreon supporters and all those who listen and talk to us on Instagram and share. And just thank you guys.
Yes.
We love you guys.
And then I have some world news to announce. You remember how the UK took over Australia last week, and I thought the Australians wouldn't be too happy about that. Well, now they're tied, so they're battling it out.
Oh gosh! Oh gosh! Can both come out victorious?
We'll see. Also, the Netherlands
victorious.
is keeping up the good work, and Thailand coming out of nowhere. You're making your way up the ladder too. Thank you, Thailand listeners.
My friend gets to go to Thailand for a month in next week. So
fun.
Be good to my friend, Thailand.
Well, that's it for us this week. Until next time, I've been Ashley.
And I'm Abby. And we've been the Sisters of the Shire Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.